Shalom. Call Allah Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone of Ruel. I am not a member, however, I've entered into their labors. Peace and mercy to the sincere brothers and sisters doing this wherever you are, whatever your lot may be. This is just something that's really quick, a little, sounding of the trumpet. Well, not little at all, but a sounding of the trumpet. I'm going to let this play. I've done some research on it. And the shelter-in places look like, or the defined shelter alerts look like they're not being spread around the country, but in certain strategic areas. So of course, Babylon not being up front, but what else is new? The news is being spread by the people, which is why they're going to inevitably get control of this internet, or blame it on one of the enemies when it's really not an enemy. Well, at least not the enemy you suspect. But before we start this, I'm going to read Isaiah 9 and 5, because this is where we are all heading. And if you can, have eyes to see and ears to hear, you understand the importance, the severity of this thing. The Bible is the only book that prophesied this thing, that how this would play out. And the men of the Lord, from the Great Millstone and their elders, they have been preaching this thing since before, if you're in your 30s like me, since before we've been alive. And it is coming to pass as we speak. We are witnessing it. Okay, it is a very serious time we are in, and the understanding of the scriptures and the obedience that is required of you once you understand who you are. It is a very deadly serious thing as well, and that's something we need to keep in the forefront of our minds, not to worry or panic, but to understand the severity of what we're going into. Okay, so let's just read this. I'm gonna let this dude give his thing on this TikTok. We'll get a couple of more scriptures, and that really will be it. But this is more of just a warning and a reminder, because we tend, as humans, we tend to, that nature to be complacent. It happened to me multiple times, but, again, I preached to self before I, put this out. And, don't let complacency is a sneaky ninja. It'll sneak up on you and catch you from behind. You have to pay attention to what's going on. You have to pay attention to, what your relationship is like with the Lord, and also pay attention to what's going on around you, right? Spiritually and physically. This is Isaiah 9 and 5. For every battle of the warriors within confused noise and a garment rolled in blood. But this shall be with burning fuel and a fire. And I open with that. You'll see why. As these other nations, since it basically are doing what Babylon is doing, is Babylon is helping these other nations, enemies financially, and in giving them things. These other nations, that are enemies, these bigger nations that are enemies of the U.S. are, giving aid and help to the other nations, the smaller ones, and they're joining together, so very fine lines are being drawn in the sand, and sides are being chosen, and this thing is orchestrating and playing out before our very eyes. So here we go.
Are being told to be able to get to their safe areas, their emergency bunkers, within 90 seconds. They say that Iran, backed up by North Korea, China, and Russia, will unleash one of the world's worst attacks against the nation of Israel, and these attacks will continue.
Not a nation, against the occupying regime. But as you can see, the scriptures tell you that Ashdod, which is a city in the Holy Land, what do I want to say? One, it says a bastard will dwell in Ashdod. Now, if you get that word, and I want to keep this short. this may be a new word definition. Let's see. Multiple meanings, child of an unmarried parent, something irregular or inferior. Okay, an irregular and inferior, spurious thing. For example, the architecture was kind of bastard, suggesting, well, amen. If we want to go with irregular and inferior, it does say that the least of the flock, and they are inferior. It will draw them out. It will draw out these nations, and the blue or white people are drawing out these nations. They are certainly doing it, as the Lord said. An offensive or disagreeable person. Fraudulent. An adjective meaning fraudulent or having a misleading appearance. For example, bogus, fake, phony. Counterfeit. Imitative. I'll get the other one after. Let's let this play.
Against the infrastructure of the United States of America and our allied countries. Now, Saudi Arabia has already sat there and said that they will back up Israel by intercepting any sort of missiles that come through the airspace. We have the Kingdom of Jordan, and we have other countries, each one's putting...
What's not being talked about is Saudi and Iran, or Iran, basically squashing their beef, squashing their disagreements, because for a long time, Babylon depended on Saudi and Iran being at odds, but they have, so to speak, have squashed their beef, or at least, laid the groundwork to moving past and settling their differences and realizing who the common enemy is. Although Saudi and the U.S. get money together, I don't know. Maybe who knows how this is going to play out. We'll see. I cannot call it, but we are going to see how this will play out. Trodden down by the Gentiles. That's what I needed before I go on. I believe it's in Matthew. Oh. Luke 21 and 24. And I'm just read it from here. I just want to get straight to the point, okay? And it's the second portion, but we'll read it all. All right, they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and they shall be led away captive into all nations, which is us, the actual people of the Bible, the so-called Negro, Latino, Native American. Although specifically, this is talking about the Southern Kingdom, who, so Benjamin, Judah, and Levi, who stayed on the other side and got scattered. But of course, when you fast forward, during the slave trading period, you had Northern Kingdom being exported to Europe, while you had Southern Kingdom being imported into Babylon the Great, and that also went about with the being led captive into all nations, right, being spread throughout the earth. Okay, second part. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And we're approaching that. We're quickly approaching that, right? That is why this third woe is well on its way. Damn, I need to get that too. Let me get Habakkuk too. I read it yesterday, or whatever, whenever I did the video. I read it yesterday. I got to read it again, and then I'll let him finish. I mean, you're getting the gist of what the dude's saying anyway. What's more important is that we get these scriptures and these things that you can look into if you don't already know. Habakkuk 2. All right, and 3, straight to the point. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Okay, there we go.
Their foot in the door of war. What we're expecting, according to Donald Trump, is World War III. The Biden administration and everybody that is standing there knows that blood is in the water. Iran, Lebanon, and other countries already smell it like sharks can from miles away, and they are prepared to attack Israel and the USA. Now, Russia recently said that they will begin arming America's allies as the United States, turn for turn, has armed Ukraine and other countries and fighters, freedom fighters.
What he meant to say was Russia will be arming America's enemies, just as America has been arming Ukraine and, creeping up on Russia's doorstep, violating an agreement that they made to not expand. But, truce breakers, right?
Fighters, so they're called, that have fought against the Russian propaganda machine and the Russian administration. What this means is you can expect massive amounts of missiles, deadly drone attacks, and maybe even some sort of nuclear event to take place in the Middle East, one that completely reshapes the understanding that we have of a third world war, and one that prepares us to go into a deeper than ever unending crisis.
Right, so he's going to go on to say, make sure your food's topped off, basically kind of be prepared, and don't just focus on things, focus on, getting spices, making your, however long this is supposed to last, right, in his carnal mind, making it a little bit bearable. If you're just eating rice and salt, it ain't good for you. But if you're able to add spices, if you're able to have a little meat, some jerky or whatever, kind of make the best of a shitty situation is basically what he was saying, and the rest of that. But I really only wanted that part right there, and understand that I've said it before and I'll say it again, that the blue and white people over there, their judgment is tied, or they're linked. Babylon and them, the judgment is going to be the same. It just so basically, the average everyday American is going to see what it's like to live in a war-torn country, because don't think for 1 second that this place is not going to get touched. All right, that is why the scriptures tell you, O virgin daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, right? Nobody has ever come here, but that's going to change. I don't know how, I don't know exactly how, I don't know exactly when. But according to prophecy, this whore is going to be touched, ravished, even in the same way it became is the same way it goes out. Just as it was invaded by pale people, it is going to be invaded again. All the more reason to truly understand this truth, because this is all we have, and it was set up that way. If there was a way that we can deliver ourselves, then there would be no need for Yahweh Shai. There would be no need for faith. There would be no need to truly fear Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai. There would be no reason for any of that, and all this would be for naught. There is no other way out, and we have to lean on the Lord, and all of our faith will be tried and tested in some way, shape, or form, leading up to that, the ultimate one, the implementation, because that's what all that is, what we're also looking for. There's this third woe, and then there's the implementation of the MOTB. So again, keep your eyes open, continue to pray and repent. Definitely continue to pray more and more, and I'm preaching to self as well. So with that being said, this was just a quick warning. Shalom.